We have chains of narration. For example, Asim, he's been taught by Abu Abdurrahman al-Sulami, who's been taught by Uthman, who's been taught by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One chain. Okay, do the same thing. Now I've shown you that this is just one singular chain, but actually you have thousands of Sahaba, of companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meeting him and writing down as well as verbally transmitting what he's done. How do you account for that, my friend? You can't read the primary source materials. I have to be the translating link that helps you. Don't stand there in a position of education. You're there in a position of learning now. You're there in a position of learning now. The child is going to teach the old man. No problem. The child is going to teach the old man because you don't know what I know. And that's the bottom line. Challenge one, get me a chain. Get me a chain that goes back to Jesus Christ. A chain of provenance that goes back to Jesus Christ. Option two, after you've given me the chain, if you can't get me the chain, then admit that actually the first person to see the first compilations we have are at least 100 years afterwards. Thank you very, very much.
This is going to be fun. All right, let's go and let's just unpack each one of the major manuscripts that he's not aware of. The Topkapi manuscript, when was it written? See, he says it's been written by Uthman. Let's look and see what the Muslim scholars are saying today. Dr. Tahir Altakulic, Dr. Ekmel Nisanalu, your leading scholars in Islam, they have now looked at the 6 major manuscripts from 2002 to 2007 over 5 years. They are the only ones that have looked at all of these 6 major manuscripts. They've looked at the Topkapi. What are they now saying? This is from the mid-8th century. That's 100 years after Uthman. It only has 78 to 99%, depending on how much you want it, which one you're going to quote, of the Quran that is readable today. But even in the Quran that is readable today, there are 2,230 manuscript variants from the Quran that we use today, the Hafs Quran. 2,230 manuscript variants. Now, words or phrases that are different than the Quran we use today. 2,270. Thanks for correcting me. Let's look at the Topkapi. Sorry, let's look at the Samarkand in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. That only goes up to Surah 43. There's 114 surahs in the Quran. Much of the Quran is missing. What's more, Dr. Tahir Altakulic says, when you look at this manuscript, it is so full of errors, it has so many grammatical mistakes, it's an embarrassment. Whoever wrote it did not know very good Arabic. Don't use it. It is from the early 8th century, 60 to 70 years after Uthman. Let's go to the Husayni manuscript in Cairo. That's from the 9th century. That's 200 years later. It has 8 manuscript variants. Let's go to the Ma'il manuscript right here in the British Library. That only goes up to Surah 43. But you didn't know that, did you? Because Muslims refuse to look at the newest research. Keep up with the newest research by your own scholars. Bart Ehrman has never done any material on the Quran. Now let's see what it has. Let's go to the Sana manuscript that you love so much. The Sana manuscript has many different small pieces. The largest piece of it only is 23% of the Quran. And in that 23%, it has 93 manuscript variants. It is dated to 705, but that's only part of it. Much of it also is dated at a later date. The that's the Petropolitan manuscript. Can you see, folks? 6 major manuscripts. They are all from the 8th century. Not one of them is from the 7th century. Not one of them is complete. Not one of them agrees with each other. And not one of them agrees completely with the Quran that we have today. So when was your Quran canonized? When was the Quran that we have today finalized? In 1924 at Al-Azhar University by a bunch of scholars 93 years ago. What's his name? Prince Philip is older than your Quran. And that's why you need to look at the historical evidence. Don't come to me with platitudes. But did you notice he still hasn't come up with any manuscripts that are existing today for the Hadith prior to 833? He cannot prior to 833. Even the one that he's going to come up with for Al-Bukhari is not from 870. It is from the 11th century. The earliest manuscript we have is from the 11th century. We have nothing even from the time of Al-Bukhari. So be careful what he's going to say. I'm not going to sit and mock him as he talks like he does with me. I'm just going to ask every one of you to realize that history is now catching up with Islam and with the Quran. He said that the Sana manuscript has been carbon dated. Yes, it has. Look at the dates of the carbon dating that's coming now out of Toulouse, that's coming out of Lyon, that's coming out of Arizona at the carbon dating labs. The carbon dates for those manuscripts go back to 443 AD. Muhammad was born in 570 AD. That's over 100 years before Muhammad. What are you going to do with that? Be careful the claims you make. And if you're going to use Bart Ehrman, for heaven's sakes, that's laughable. Bart Ehrman has been destroyed by most of the reputable Christian scholars today. He does not know his material. He does not know his craft. I would rather you would go back to the Muslim scholars. Go back to Dr. Alta Kulic. Go to Dr. Ekbiladin Ihsanalu. Go back to the men who know their craft, who have seen the material, who have looked at it, and who have also come up with their conclusions. Thank God we've done that with our Bible. I'll show you what we have in the next 5 minutes concerning what we have for our Bible versus what you have for your Quran.
Thank you.
Jesus.
Hey. Listen to me. This is, I'm telling you, the most outrageous claim. The first thing he said was that I don't know what the dates you gave. If you go to any reputable search or any kind of anyone who knows anything, when is the Sana'a manuscript carbon dated till 651, which is the time of Uthman ibn Affan. How do we know that? Because Uthman ibn Affan came around in that time. That's when it was canonized for the second time. There was a first canonization at the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, when Zayd ibn Thabit did the first canonization, and then the second one. As for the variants that he's talking about, that's a lie. There isn't 2,700 variants. What he's talking about is the tajweed. Now I'll tell you what we mean, just in a very simple way. Say for example, if I say for example a word and another word, sometimes you have something called four harakas, yeah? So I make a med for four harakas, like that. His variant is basically, if I say like that he considers a variant. This is not what we're talking about. If you look at the variants that are actually changes in meaning, they are few in number, and they are justified by the fact that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had revelation of 7 ahruf. Now let me ask you a very simple question. What is the difference between a harf and a qira'ah? Since you know now your stuff and you've been reading your stuff, and I'm sure you do all these things, in your opinion, what's the difference between a harf and a qira'ah? Because if you don't know what a harf is, then you won't know what a qira'ah is. The qira'ahs have ahruf differences, and these differences go back to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ with all chains, and they're all been written down. So it's not 2,000, that's completely a lie and false. For example, let me give you an easy example. If you've got Malik and Malik, Malik is repeated in the Quran, is 10 qira'at. 6 of those qira'at have Malik, and 4 of them have Malik. 4 of them have Malik. So you have 2 differences represented over 10 different qira'at. These 2 differences go back to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ through a chain and through the written Quran. That was to facilitate for different tribes, and they do have different meaning. We've made this very clear. Now, 2,000, that's a number which cannot be justified, and you'll never be able to prove it. Third point, he's saying that I've not been able to bring any evidences for the hadith. I say generally, that's completely a lie. The thing is, it doesn't have a name like the mustalahat or the terminological expressions he used. Sometimes it's just named after the Sahabi, Ibn Mas'ud, Abu Huraira. All of these individuals, they wrote the hadith down. So we say the suhuf or the writings of, and then we say the name of the Sahabi. And these things are still available with us. So for you to say it's not been written is nothing but a lie. It's not true. You cannot substantiate that. You have to disprove what I've just said. You say, no, actually Abu Huraira and the Khadim of Abu Huraira didn't write anything down. You have to say that the Sahaba didn't write it, that these manuscripts that I'm telling you of the hadith don't exist. You have to say that. But you'll never be able to make that claim, because that claim would be nothing but falsehood. Now, having defended Islam, let's go back to Christianity. Because it seems to me like you have not answered the question of where is the provenance, the chain of provenance that goes back to Jesus Christ. Where is the person, or where are the people that have seen Jesus Christ? Where is the Bible anyways? Why is 97% of the Bible, according to Bart Ehrman, manuscripts that came after the 9th century? Answer the questions. These are questions. I've answered your questions. Now it's time for you to answer my questions. This is how people reach true conclusions. You bring your claims, I bring my claims, you ask your questions, I ask my questions, I answer yours, now it's time for you to answer mine. Where are the manuscripts? Where is the Bible? Where is the original Bible? Who saw Jesus? This is my question. Give me an answer. Why are there so many variants which have theological implications that are different to each other, contradictory to each other? I dare you today to find one variant, stylistic, which goes back to the Prophet Muhammad, which contradicts each other. I can find you a dozen that has theological implications which contradict each other in the Bible. How can you explain the fact that the church had a creedal development, 325, 342, 381, 451? All of these times have shown that the creeds of the Christians have nothing but changed. They've changed time and time again. My question to you, J. Smith, is how comes you're believing in Christianity, which has been developed after Jesus in 381 when Theodosius, when he forced the people to only accept the triune understanding of Jesus? Where is this in the Bible? Where is it in the Old Testament that the Holy Spirit is God? Your theology is built on nothing. Your theology is...
Okay, have you noticed he still doesn't want to go back to the manuscript evidence? But unless you have manuscripts, you can make all the claims you want. If you don't have the manuscript evidence... You do one more, then I'll do one more after this, okay? If we don't have the manuscript evidence, then you're going to have a problem. That's why I said Islam with a small I is what he's telling you. Islam with a big I, the historical Islam, is proving to be inaccurate. He has not kept up with the latest material. He's not even read Ekmeladin. He's not even read Isanalu. He's not gone back to Alter College. You must go back to your own Muslim scholars. Stop keep going to Bart Ehrman. He's done nothing on the Quranic manuscripts. He won't know diddly swat. But more than that, folks, have you noticed? Unless you're going to show historically from the 7th century that you can even show one Quran that comes from the time of Uthman, stop claiming it. You can't prove it. There's none in existence. In the 6 earliest manuscripts that you have, every one of them are full of manuscript variants. Now, Dr. Dan Brubaker, did his doctoral thesis in 2014 looking at all